Hi guys, welcome back to the Sisters Show. It's your favorite sisters, Jackie and Athina.
What's up, guys?
And we are gonna do our sister shit of the week. So my sister shit for this week is I bought like a $2.
Oh boy, I'm afraid to know where
I
this is
bought
going.
like the heatless curler rod. I don't know if you saw it on my story.
Yes.
So I'm really going to try to make this a thing because I bought the rod. It comes with like a clip and then you basically twist your hair around it.
That's not what you've been doing.
Well, this is crimped.
Okay.
Not curled. But I bought that and I did it and it actually came out really good. So I'm going to like play around because they have different ones where you can just do like the top and then do like layers behind. But I tried it out while Joey was gone like last week. I was like, now's the time to experiment. And I actually really liked it. So I'm going to try to like really do more heatless curls instead of like with like curling iron. Honestly, it was like a good experience. And
I'm shocked because I've had one of those for a while now. And I don't know if it's me.
like user error.
Yeah, which very well could be what happened. But like it was like crinkle. Like there's ones that were like this way and that way. And like it was like.
Really?
Yeah, it did not. I had extensions though. Long extensions. And when I took it out, it was not. It looked like Shirley Temple. And then some of them were like
Really?
bent all weird. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Maybe I'll do it on you and see if it like works.
Maybe.
Because I used it and I like sprayed my hair with some like texture spray and hairspray to like really get it to hold. And when I took it out the next morning.
You did it after the spray?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I took it out the next morning, it actually looked like I waved
The
my
thing
hair.
about you though that I have to call out is you show us you doing it and then you didn't show me the after. So like there's no proof. There's no evidence. I
went to work and I was complimented on it and I was like, these aren't from a curling iron, they're from a rod. But I kind of did forget to take it. Actually, no, I did take an after.
All right,
I just didn't post it.
Okay.
It's in my camera roll. I'll show you.
All right, beautiful. So did it give like a blow dry look?
Yeah, it gave like a blowout, like bouncy vibe. And
All right, that's so weird because mine did not.
that is weird.
Mine was like Shirley Temple.
Really?
It was not good.
All right, what's your sister's
All right,
shit?
my sister's shit. We just celebrated my middle child. I have two middle children. One of them's in the other room here, James. But Mark turned 12, so that was a big deal. And
Happy birthday, Mark.
I know, he's the best. But I want to tell you, so my sister's shit is we went to a water park in Miami.
We did.
Tidelands Cove. Was that the name of it?
Tidal Cove.
Tidal Cove. I can't even say it right. Is it Tidal Cove?
Yeah.
Why'd I say Tidelands? That's weird. That's a hospital in Myrtle Beach.
No, not the hospital.
Anyway, it was one of the most bougie water parks. I think we both could agree.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just lived our best life. We stayed at the hotel there. Little South Florida hack is I was going to buy the water park passes for me, and we're a family of 6 and we have Athena, and it was going to be like $700. So my way around that is if you stay at the Marriott that's attached to the Tidal Cove, I almost said airport. My brain is just off.
The brain is not braining.
Oh, it's not braining. I just did a 24-hour fast, but I ate, so I'm good. So if you stay in their hotel, you get passes. So we got 2 adjoining rooms, and for the price of 2 adjoining bougie AF beautiful hotel rooms, and we got room service and everything, it was the same price as if I got just the water park tickets. So if you want to save money and have like a little staycation and you're in Florida, that is what I recommend. And it was one of the best water slides. Can you just attest to that?
We have to post the videos. I don't know if you posted them at all on your page, but you guys, literally the best water slide I've ever been on. It honestly felt like scarier than some roller coasters I've been on. Like it was so
Low
good.
key, I know why they have us sign like these like things when we walk in, because it was dangerous.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
there was no thing
There was
on the
some air.
side.
There was some airtime in there for sure. But
And you put 4 people on it.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were trying to make it as heavy
I
as we
would go
could.
back there just to experience that again.
Joey needs to do it.
Oh, he
Yeah.
does. And also, for those of you in South Florida, the water park and hotel is like right on the water. It's right by the Aventura Mall, which is like one of the best malls here in Florida. So there's definitely a lot to do in that area. You could 100% make it like a whole weekend thing. So that's definitely something I highly recommend it as well. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot to do for everyone.
Tidal Cove Water Park, shouting them out. Obviously not sponsored. I'm telling you how to do it the best is go to the hotel, stay there. I would probably, if you're like me with more than 2 kids, get 2 rooms. You don't have to. There is 2 like in our king room, there was a pull out. So you technically could have probably stuck 2 kids there, but we are in the 2-room era of our life because we've got
Isn't
4
that
kids.
so crazy?
It's wild. But the room service is really good. And we're probably, when we do it next time, going to come for 2 nights.
Yeah.
And every day that you're there. So we checked in very late on his actual birthday. We technically could have went to the water park that whole day. So let's say you're there 29, 30, 31. You can have 3 water park passes. So right there, basically your hotel room pays for itself because of the water park. So.
Yeah. Definitely a super good experience.
So that's it.
So let's get into this. This is something that actually, when I saw this video, I was going to bring it up to you, but you were like dealing with travel and stuff. So we like didn't get to talk about it. And today when we were like thinking of just what is like on our minds and what things we want to speak about, and just what's relevant in society, I thought of it and remembered it from a few weeks ago. But, you know, I'm sure some of you guys have seen it if you're on social media, but this guy that's like a football player basically did a speech at his college, Christian, Catholic, whatever, graduation at his school. And it pretty much broke the internet. Like everyone was losing their minds because a lot of people didn't like what he had to say. Some people liked it, whatever. This episode is not about necessarily what he said, but he basically did a speech that was just kind of, I think his delivery, honestly, in my opinion, kind of sucked. And I don't know, I think it kind of like was a weird place and time to like bring it up. But he was just talking about how like his wife's life started when she had kids, and like how we're fed these lies about like getting educated and having a career and all these things. And I think a lot of women kind of took it like in a weird way, because like, why are you bringing that up in that time and place, whatever. But it got me thinking about how we are so often told, as a young woman like myself and growing up and thinking about what am I going to spend my life doing, you're just grabbing her foot. You're so often told that you cannot have it all as a woman. And I think that one of the biggest things that irritates me is that you never hear that same thing being told to men.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say
that. It's never like, oh, you can't be a successful businessman and a father and a husband. It's only towards women. Like, are you really going to choose that for your career when you're going to have kids? So
double standards, just pass them out. Like,
yeah,
you know,
it just had me
like the COVID vaccine,
because I
free.
personally have a lot of women in my life that do both, that do have successful careers and are also wives and mothers first, and then business women, but that do both and that do have that balance or non-balance too. But I guess like I just want to know, you know, kind of like what your thoughts are on that, because as someone that is a mother,
yeah,
and you have 4 kids in a family and that comes first, but also having that career and having that business for yourself that gives you that separate identity as a woman besides just whatever comes with being a mom. Like, what are your thoughts? And like, do you think it's something that you can have balance in, or do you think it's something that you do have to choose for different like periods of your life? What are your thoughts?
So I'm really glad that you actually brought this to my attention, because I guess I live under a rock and I missed this. I missed this video.
I think you were just really busy that week.
I think I was just really busy that week. May was a one for the books, but I want to watch it. Mm-hmm. So from what I'm understanding, it's that he was a little aggressive. He was aggressive with how he was saying it, or
it wasn't even like aggression. I think it was just people were a little confused as to like, why is he just going on this stage and to like, all these people that just like graduated and being like, by the way, that means nothing.
It's not relevant. Right. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Right. There was clarification when people found out like it was at like a Christian school. So it's like, okay, like it's his beliefs. And it's not even that I don't necessarily even agree with him, but I think it just had a lot of people talking about my life doesn't start when I have kids. And I think that that's what like a lot of people were having an issue with, because it's like,
but those people probably don't have kids, I'm assuming, just so you know.
I don't know, but I'm just saying like,
because that statement, and you know I'm not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have your child, you would say that, and it's not has nothing to do with career.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, which I started very young. So imagine that. We were just talking about that whole situation with me in my 20s. But I think the people, if they did say that their life didn't start when they had kids, they probably didn't have kids yet.
Yeah, or I guess it was relevant to like, let's say you don't have kids till you're like 29, but you've accomplished like other things.
Yeah.
Like, of course your life changes when you have kids, and of course there's things that like shift, and you see life in a different perspective, and you have a Why was that alarm so like in my ear?
Joey is our creative director.
Our timer.
He just wanted to make sure that you guys knew he was listening.
So, of course, like your life perspective changes when you have kids and have a family, and you see things differently, and things don't matter in the same way. But I think to say that like nothing matters before that time.
But I think like it's not that when you say my life started when I have kids is not saying that everything before that didn't matter. I don't necessarily get that from that. I think people who don't have kids don't get it when you say that. So I have always said this. My life, I don't even remember. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. I don't know if there's a mom listening that can relate to this. Literally from the minute 22 years old, that first cry happens when you have your baby. What was my life before?
Like you don't remember what life was before.
I cannot comprehend life before children. It doesn't mean I'm not negating those 22 years because obviously I've got 22 years of trauma up until that point and a lot of life experience. And I had careers and things going for me, but I do not recall my life before children. And so with me saying that to you, I'm not saying it in a condescending way. But I think that the majority, and we should take a poll. We should take a poll maybe when you post this reel on Sisters Show and say like, moms, did your life start when you had kids? Just to see. Right. Because I'm pretty sure I'm accurate because most of my following is moms. And I think that 90% of us would say that our life started when we had kids. And I don't say that like life wasn't important before then, but it's like a clock starts or something.
Right.
Like your true, I don't even want to say purpose, which I'll cover. But I have said that.
Right.
I have said my life started when I had Yanni, and everything up until that point, I'm like, Sean and I don't even know who we were before that. So I don't really know. As far as now, it makes sense to me what you said, that it was at a graduation. So basically he was just like at the graduation.
I think like my biggest like bone to pick with the whole situation was like, you're a man that literally gets paid to kick a ball around all year, and your wife has the privilege of being a stay-at-home mom, and like not everyone gets that privilege, and it is a privilege.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And I think it is something that a lot of women want,
and they don't have the choice,
and a lot of people don't have that choice. So I think to go up there and just be like,
make you feel like shit because you're not doing that,
right, it's just kind of like read the room. Like I think a lot of women like would love to stay home and raise their kids for 18 years, but I just don't think that's like the world we live in, and
definitely not for us anymore. It's really hard.
It's just like, I don't know, to just assume that everyone could live like that is kind of like out of touch in my opinion.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Apparently I'm here today.
Okay.
But it's like if someone said to me, oh, I could never homeschool.
Right.
They'd say, well, because I work or whatever. It's like you do what's a priority. So I would also say that there's situations where people aren't willing to give up their lifestyle.
Right.
Because they could actually go down to one income and do that.
Right.
And I'm not putting those people down that don't want to do that because I'm a working mother and Sean's a working father right now. But there is that part of it too. So I think like obviously with anything,
I just think it's easy when you get paid like $7 million a year to be like, oh, my wife's going to stay at home. Whereas like, not everyone can do that. So to look at people and look at women and be like, well, if you're not doing this, like it's not as meaningful. I just think that's really dangerous territory.
I agree 100%. I also want to talk about the fact that the double standard that you spoke about, and that bothers me too. And you know, I'm not like a feminist over here. I have 4 sons to raise, and I can't wait to see what kind of women they choose as their wives. And I hope they're all very strong-willed, badass entrepreneur moms. But going back to what you opened this up with, you said, do you think that, ask me the question again, because of course we went off topic here.
My question was, do you think that you can have it all at one time, or do you think that you have to pick and choose for different phases of your life, because you've done both, and you've done both while being a mother?
Right.
So do you feel like do you feel like something has to give? Like, do you feel like you have to sacrifice in one area to put more time into another? Like, do you feel like that's only when your kids are young? Like, I guess that's kind of my question.
Yeah. So I sincerely believe that you don't have to choose between the two.
Yeah.
Because if you're a good mom, you want to provide. Mm-hmm. And I know that that is probably an unpopular opinion. And so often in these marriages these days, and especially in our dad's day and age, it's like you had the gender roles and you stay in them no matter what. And it's like, well, okay, I get it. I see what the Bible says and things like that. But what about if your husband needs help, or when you want a certain lifestyle, whatever? And so one of the things for me was, for a long time in my early 20s, I was kind of like brainwashed to think that a good Christian wife and mother did not work. And here I am, as usual, just breaking down the walls and boundaries and cursing always on our podcast. That's bullshit. I think, and I will even say, to be a good Christian wife and mother, you should also be open to providing and answering calls that God puts on your life. And I think so often we sit, like even with the men, they'll be like, I don't change diapers and that's not my job. It's like, who said? Because I'm pretty sure the biggest picture of Jesus is he did all the roles. He washed feet. He, spoke to women that no one would talk to. And so there needs to be a humility there, and definitely go to Proverbs 31 woman and study that shit again, because she was an entrepreneur. She woke up early. She provided for her family. She was a baddie. Okay. Proverbs 31. So there's that. Now, going back to the seasons, when I had 2 kids, 17 months and under, in diapers, I was not thinking about
the grind.
Yeah. My grind was spit up, leaking breasts, and Sean was the provider. That was not because he thought that if I worked, it was less than. It wasn't because we looked at each other, even though we did have a legalistic Christian stage of our marriage. It wasn't because we said, oh, I shouldn't work. It was like, this was our season, and he was doing his, and we thought he was doing what he would do forever, and it would eventually be our family business. And I was willing to make a sacrifice for him, even though it didn't feel like a sacrifice, because there's no place I would have rather been than with those boys. And it felt right, and it was good, and it was my early 20s. So 22, 23, 24, barefoot and pregnant. Then we pop out James. Once you get from 2 to 3 kids at that point, I had already been home for 5, 6, 7 years. It would have cost us more money to put them in daycare. And we just had a mojo going, and, whatever, around that time, because we are so much more than just moms. And when I say just moms, I never want us to say it like it's something bad. But that was my season of like serving Sean in our house. And I think in any successful marriage, especially within Christian homes, your life goes in seasons. And so you said to me, do you think it's like give and take? I think no one size fits all with your family and what you guys do. So at that time, I did that. But then I also had this draw. I wanted to start a blog. It wasn't that the kids weren't everything to me, because I am that corny person that just said my life started when I had my first kid. But I still... And I don't want us to guilt ourselves that we're more than moms. My drive to be a good mother also fueled my desire to provide and make money and do other things. And also, you lose yourself in motherhood.
Yeah, I think that's really important to touch on.
You lose yourself in motherhood in those early days, like for real. And I will be standing there cheering your ass on when you start to feel like, oh, right? Yeah. And I'm going to take your kid and steal it from you. Yeah. So, and tell you to go somewhere so I could low-key breastfeed it. No, I'm not going to do that. I won't have milk. But
I'm going to come home and the baby...
She's going to be strapped to me with like a fake boob. No. But like that's where that village that you hear people talk about comes in.
I think that's really important. I don't want to interrupt what you're saying.
That's what we do though.
I think that it's really important to touch on that, because I see a lot of moms on like social media and stuff, and it's very like, obviously it's overwhelming when you're adjusting to all these different things, but I think that touching on what you just said about like almost like losing your your identity, who you are as Jackie.
Oh, she left.
She left
the building, and it's very scary,
yeah.
especially if you're supporting your man and you're watching them be successful in their stuff. And then I can't even imagine, shout out to the single moms out there.
Yeah.
Single dads, whatever, but this is the Sisters show, so we're not talking about brotherhood here, but you know, it's like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And one thing I always hear people that did have like single moms growing up, I think it's really important, and having kids to watch you as their mom like work hard at
I was going to touch on that. That's
such
where I
a
was going
beautiful
with
thing
it, yeah.
in my opinion. Obviously some moms don't have a choice and
Yeah.
they have to, but I think having sons that get to look at their mom and be like, my mom had
worked like 3 jobs, still
and
cooked
put
for
her
us.
all into
Yeah.
something. Like, I think that's really beautiful. And obviously anything can be romanticized.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, the fact that your boys can look at you and see that, like, the drive and determination, not only in their father, but also their mother, is amazing. And I want my kids to be able to grow up and feel that same way. Like, my mom not only took care of me emotionally and hugged me and held me and took care of me when I was sick.
That's our superpower, right?
Yeah.
As women. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about that divine feminine energy that God gives us, is that we not only give life, then we sustain life, and then we're the nurturers, but you could also be a baddie.
Yeah.
With a fatty. Point to her, because mine's pancake right now. But it'll be back in Greece. But basically, like, we that's what makes women who we are.
Yeah.
And that's where I can get down with that is I'm going to kiss his boo-boo, and I'm also going to make that paper and put it in the bank for us too, babe.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's so important to touch on that, what you said about the example that I'm setting for my children and having them see me. I have sons. I can't imagine them just assuming that their wife isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You know? And like Yanni joked the other day, I was telling you this, I had this like domesticated urge.
She texted me.
It was God ordained.
She's like, Athena, I just like swiped every dust from the living room.
I don't know what got into
like
me.
Decluttered everything, went through every last
crevice,
ceiling to floor. I'm like, are you okay? Like, what's going on here?
My 13-year-old comes downstairs and he's like, wait a minute. I'm having like flashbacks to like when you were domesticated.
When you were baking that sourdough and having the kombucha starter.
Yeah, I had that era. So no, and it was just an urge, and I did it, and it was freeing, and it was amazing. And then I won't do it for like a year. But like, no, I definitely think that it's important that you don't be so stuck to your role as mom, as
Right.
only being like, not only, again, I hate how I'm saying only. How can I say it better?
I know.
It sounds like I'm like putting it down. Being a mother is the
Like
hardest fucking job you will ever have. Ever. Literally 24/7. But so I don't know what filler word I could put for only, but if your profession is stay-at-home mom right now, you are worthy and amazing, and you're a badass. If your profession is full-time entrepreneur or working 3 jobs and mom, you are a badass. Why are we going like this and having a rating system? It's hard enough to be a freaking mother.
Yeah, let alone when you add
I don't want to join these girl gangs, because guess what, bitches? I was all of them. I had a SCOBY and did my own kombucha, yogurt, raw yogurt from scratch. Like these sourdough bitches ain't got shit on some raw yogurt and kombucha. It looks like a jellyfish, bro. It's like an organism. You can't keep your starter alive. Try having like an organism.
Literally, like the kombucha mother. That's what it's called, right? The mother.
Yes.
In like a bucket in Jackie's living room.
It's disgusting, and I did that for years.
I remember.
And so I think what my answer to you is, Athena, is it's seasons. But where I'm at right now, my oldest is 13. My youngest is going to be 6. I don't have to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Like, my boys are homeschooled, and I have a thriving business, and you can do both.
Yeah.
And I'm sick and tired of us putting other women down who decide to do you got to do what works for you.
Yeah.
Screw what your in-laws or your mom's telling you need to do. Oh, you should work. You can't work. I say this all the time. I have friends that are not friends. I should say, I don't know, clients that, you know, they're pulling their kids out and leaving corporate America because they feel called to homeschool them. And so that's where it's like, where there's a will, there's a way, and they're making these different sacrifices. I think that also root for the mom that like maybe she wants to have, you know, multiple cars and trust funds set up for her kids. And so she's just grinding, you know? And so I'm just sick and tired, which I know you don't understand it yet, and we've talked about it, the mom shaming that goes on.
Oh my God, I literally don't get it. And every time you explain it to me, I'm just like,
it's
but
worse.
I guess it's literally just
middle school.
It's literally high school and grown adult women. But
well, my Tommy has never been in daycare.
Yeah.
That was me, by the way. I used to talk that way. I'm not her anymore. That's called growth. But who am I? I was it was because my husband busted his ass and wasn't home that I didn't have to put Tommy in daycare.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't have a Tommy, but
if
I did,
I guess like the way I look at it as someone that's like in the middle of my career,
just watching,
and you know, watching you and watching other women like that do have families and also businesses or do have careers separate from being a mother. Like, I guess like nothing is planned, and you don't know when you're gonna have kids, and you don't know when your family is gonna start. It could start in a month, or you could not be able to have kids. So it's like, whatever's in front of me, I guess I just do the best I can at it. And then when the time comes, that
take it day by day.
Yeah.
And
I'm not that girl that's like has my whole life planned out by like year. Like, this is the year I'm gonna like take a break. You know, I know these influencers on TikTok, but like I've seen some women that like they were working and they were like, it didn't make sense for me to work anymore, so I stayed home with my kids. And like you said, the cost of daycare was the same as me working, so what's the point? I might as well stay home with them. And then that makes sense for that person, and maybe that's the point I'll reach, or maybe not, I don't know.
Or if you got to a place in your life and that's what happened with Sean and I, is your wife is making more money than you, then your man comes home a little bit more.
And I think that's also,
you take a step back from whatever that profession
that's also a
is.
really important thing, like maybe to touch on, because I think nowadays, like the whole like being in your feminine and being in your masculine, and you only get to be in your feminine when you have that type of man. I think it's important to talk about that, because I think people are very stuck in like, I want my man to do all this for me and I'm going to do this. And it's like, that's how it's going to be forever.
Yeah. And
I think that the fact that you guys almost like kind of swapped is really cool and brings in like, it's not normal. Like, you don't see that all the time. If you as a woman have something or are passionate about something, and we have our podcast and we're on a stage and we're performing, and like having your husband be your cheerleader and like supporting you, I think is a really important thing that a lot of people kind of like forget about. It's always like being in your feminine, but they never talk about like the father should be present in the raising of your children as well.
100%.
And that's something that
doesn't make them feminine.
We've both always gotten triggered about, because I
Yeah.
think the way our family and like church circles always brought it up as such a like, the roles are so different. Like, the father just provides, but then okay, dad pays all the bills but isn't emotionally available for his kids. Like, that's also not okay. And so I think it's important that we address both parents, and it's not just the mother's job to be there for her kids and be an open ear. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think you have a really interesting perspective of that, because you guys did both, and not a lot of couples could say the same.
Yeah. And also, nothing is forever, in the sense of like, Sean's career takes off in the keys and things shift. Like, you have to be open to that. And so I think one of the big problems in divorce happening and these dysfunctional homes is the parents are so stuck in their ways and stuck in our roles. Just like, I'm not like a necessarily go with the flow all the time. You can't be that way when you have businesses and kids, but I am. So it's like, opposites attract, and in your marriage, like Sean and I are so opposite, but we're also the same in a lot of areas. And so we have always just, you know, when you're on a team, I think that's what's missing here, is if it's a team and it's a partnership,
You both.
when there's a need, the player rises up. It's not like you're sitting there and then being resentful of, oh, I had to do the dishes.
That's like a really good way to put it. Like, in a sport, how if like the ball goes over there and like you're an offender, I'm not going to touch it. That's like the defense's job.
Could you imagine if that happened?
Yeah,
So
that's a really good way to put it.
So the breakdown is that you guys, like when I say core 6 of our family, we just made that up and I haven't like talked about it too much, is that anytime there's a player's down, mom's sick, a kid can't do his chore, I'm like, all right, who's picking it up? Like we're a team here. And I think that's what's missing. And so in motherhood, in your career, it's no different than being able to delegate when you get to a certain level and success in your business. If you truly want to make the most money, you need to learn how to do what pays you the most and then delegate everything else. And that's the same way in a family. You're in essence, I just watched this last night with Sean, and this is a funny one, 90 Day Fiance. But when you get married, you're in a business arrangement and people don't always look at it like that. And I know that sounds really not like attractive.
You know, it's so funny. I just saw Milena make a video because I still follow her. I don't know.
You just follow her to troll her.
I do. And she made a video saying how running your, which I guess like we do agree with this, but like running your home is a business. And like, the way that like raising your
Do you
kid.
see my face because you said her name?
I know. She just made a video saying that like running her house is a business.
A family is a business.
Yeah, and she runs it like that.
And everyone is bankrupt around me. Literally. I don't have many people that I look up to in the family of business of family. But no, she's right. I agree. Yeah.
No, I know. It just reminded me of that.
I don't agree with much she says, but I agree with that one. So what? Her husband then is the CEO, CFO, COOO, and then what is she? She's the executive assistant or something? The manager?
She's the mistress.
Okay. Well, anyway, no, it is a business.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying my kids are a business, but you guys, you're getting the...
I do get it.
A team. Team feels better than business, but it is. The business of family is a real thing. And at any time when things, if you're a true team player, you just pick up where there's a slack. And so if there was a slack in our finances, or here's how I am, and I know you're the same way. Sean has killed himself his entire life and busted his ass. I married him for his work ethic. He still is the hardest working man I've ever met in my life. If I want something and it's not in the budget, I'm going to find a way to make money because I'm a hustler, bro. So whether it's Facebook Marketplace, a fucking garage sale, or I always felt like I'm creative. I have a creative personality and I felt like I was losing myself in motherhood. Love my kids, would walk through fire for them. And so after James, I started a blog. After James, I started working with brands. After James, I got a camera. Started playing around with it. Had a little hobby. Sean thought it was cute. And then boom, boom, boom. Fast forward
built upon each
a
other,
decade later, you know, so he was providing and paying all the bills. I was able to have an outlet. And so for some moms, it's working out. And for some moms, it's entrepreneurship. And it doesn't mean that it has to look the same for all of us. Some people like to like volunteer and do that kind of shit. But I will say, I don't do that. But I will say, outside of momming, you should have something else. But again, when I had 2 under 16 months, I didn't know my name.
Yeah.
I didn't like wear a bra for 2 years. I didn't like brush my teeth. It was a dark time, but it was the best time. And then when you're in that time, you're romanticizing when you're not in that time, by the way. You're going to be like, oh, I can't wait till they're 4. And then I'm going to be like, no, don't say that because you're actually going to miss that shit.
I think it's about like appreciating where you're at and knowing that like the time you're at in that moment is never going to come back.
So when I was building my network marketing business, when I was building my blog, which I don't have anymore, when I was doing all that,
resurrect it.
Are blogs a thing anymore? I don't think so.
But you can make it a thing.
I can make anything a thing, but I think my thing is the Sisters show. I don't want to resurrect the blog.
The blog has now turned into this.
Yeah.
That's so
crazy.
But
when I was in those stages and there was times where I felt like I was failing at the mom game or the wife game while I was building these businesses. And like this year, I've been so wrapped up in coaching and it's like my 5th child. I never regretted one single minute of like the kids being on an iPad or not only momming. And I also, the other side of that is I never regret and have any regret around when I was barefoot and pregnant for my 20s. Like just be where you are and be satisfied in it and keep pushing forward. And my kids, like you said, the example that the boys, your nephews have of, it's not perfect ever. I yell at my kids and I'm like as real as it gets when it comes to motherhood, but like we're a pretty badass mother effing business of family over here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of what Sean and I have built despite our upbringing and everything.
Yeah,
and,
you should be.
And I'm really proud. I'm proud of my boys in public. People stop us randomly, like, your kids are so well behaved. And I'm like, that's like, they're not perfect. You know that.
They are to me.
I mean, they are to me too.
You say you know that. I don't know that. I think they are
Literally.
perfect.
No, but you get
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
I think to wrap this up, like, I really do think that your kids being able to look up at their mother and their father, both of you guys, but in regards to what we're talking about, to look up at their mother and know that you worked your best and your hardest to provide a beautiful life
that's
for
all
them.
you can do.
But that's what they remember. Like, they're not going to remember, like, mom was on a business call and like didn't answer my question. Like, they're going to remember the life that they lived and the childhood that they had, and you're working really hard to provide that for them. And I think that's what's most important. And, you know, I think appreciating where you're at and knowing that, like you said, different phases call for different attention from you, and your attention's going to go to different places at different times.
And as the CEO of my house, and Sean's the CEO as well, same roles as far as, like, not same roles, but you get what I'm saying. Like, we're equal is what I mean. Mm-hmm. Is
like they say in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Sean's the head, you're the neck.
I'm the neck. And James quotes that movie all the time.
Does he?
Mm-hmm. Because he'll ask me for sugar, and then Sean, because I hate this, but I'm just gonna be real with you guys and with you. Like, Sean will say no, and then I say yes all the time. All the time. Like, before I had kids, never would I ever not agree with my husband. Yeah, that was bullshit, because always, and Sean does it to me too, to call it out. But, like, James will say, but mommy's the neck, because Sean will be like, I just said no, and I'm like, ooh, sorry, I didn't know. And then he's like, but mommy's the neck.
Stop. That's actually so funny.
Yeah. No, but you're right. And even us as adults, when you think back to, like, whether your upbringing was dysfunctional or it was, you know, a movie, whatever it is like, as kids, you remember the trips, you remember how you were made to feel. And so whether you have $1 million in the bank and your mom is home and you have that privilege and go to private school, or your mom's working 10 jobs and you guys are on food stamps, like, single moms, married moms, homeschool moms, public school moms, all of us, like, we're all just trying to do our damn best, and that's all you can ask for. And I have big dreams and I have big vision, and I know that my boys feed off of my energy, and I love my life. Like I told you, when we went to Aruba, like, Sean and I looked at each other and we're like, we don't need a vacation. Mm-hmm. And that's #goals right there. Like, and so my sons feel the same way, and I can't wait to watch them thrive and build their lives. And I hope that they marry badass entrepreneur moms. But if they came to me and they're like, we want her to stay home, like, I'm gonna be like, yes, boo.
Yeah.
The thing is like you said, I've done both.
Yeah.
And in the future, like I said, do not be so stuck on your ways and your role in your family. I'm not talking about a man is a man and a woman is a woman. I'm just talking about pick up slack where it's needed on your team. Your team, your best team, your A team is your family. It's you and your husband. You're on the same team. I feel like oftentimes marriages are fighting against each other. Like, you're on rival teams or some shit. And then you have kids that go on your team and another kid is on my team. It's like, it's so dysfunctional. And so, in closing, I don't think that you need to choose. I think that there's going to be seasons, and obviously you have me for life to remind you of that. But I encourage you and all women, if you feel desire, don't shame yourself for that. If you want something outside of momming, there it is. Not that you're just a mom, but you want something outside of mother. Mm-hmm. I think that that's how you happy wife, happy life, happy mom, happy home. Because, like, back in the 50s and 60s, moms, when they were just home and, like, vacuuming, and there was no, think about it, they didn't have smartphones.
Did vacuums exist in the 50s?
Yeah, they have all those, like, those commercials. Can you see, like, the thing?
Oh my gosh,
she's got like an apron on. Yeah. And those 50s moms, they were like drug addicts, bro.
I think we've romanticized a lot of things that, like, were actually not as nice as we think they were in reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even, like, back then, like, oh, the good old days. I'm like, I don't really think that was the good
Think
old
about
days.
your man leaving in the morning back in the 50s. There was no Wi-Fi. There was no cell phones. So I'm going back to, because you didn't do this yet, but imagine being home
No.
with your 2 kids all day and your tube barely works, your TV. They called it the tube.
No.
Yes. Listen to this now. They went crazy. They went crazy back then. Yeah. And then the guy would come home and hand the briefcase to the man. And then he would like get a drink of scotch and ignore his kids. And then the wife's like, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
She's going to off herself. I can't say kill. Yeah.
That honestly sounds like the most miserable life.
The most miserable marriages and divorces that I've ever seen in my 36 years have been when that's the case.
Yeah.
There's not a team. There's not a partnership here.
Mm-hmm. And you grow resentment for that as a woman.
And then that's how affairs start. That's how all of it.
Yeah. Well, I think it really is about both people in the marriage, like, and as parents deciding, like you said, what's best for their family. And
in that time
period. And it doesn't look the same for everyone. And like how I open this, like, I think the main like takeaway is just different things work for different people. If my husband was making $8 million a year, you bet I would be at home all the time. I would never pick up anything again a day in my life besides my baby.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't.
But you would be open to that when your baby's older, if you're like, I kind of want to start a podcast, or I really think I want to start this, like you would be, I know you'd be like, yeah, I think I'll do that too.
Yeah.
It's like when you see people that don't have to work that work.
You're right. And
it's called passion.
And I think that's, yeah, exactly. It's about like knowing what you love and what you're passionate about. And like we always talk about, what are things that you would do for free, or what are things that you would do for fun? Like
this podcast.
That's what we would be doing. So I think that's really important. And I think as women, besides whatever you do as a career, even if your career is not something you're head over heels in love for, like have things that you're passionate about, because that's what keeps you going. Even when you have babies sitting on you and leaking and all of those things, like having something that you truly love doing and enjoy and can have as Jackie or as Athena that you do for you, I think is very important.
It's very healthy. And I think oftentimes, because I've seen a lot more, which is interesting on social media, of this defending motherhood thing going on, and, you know, defending what moms do. And I'm like, I know my worth, and I know how irreplaceable my role is in my house. And I don't need to like clap back online and be like, oh, like, no, I don't need to do that. And I think that those people need to like do some soul searching, and maybe the ones that are so loud online that are putting down working moms are actually the most insecure moms out there, that actually are trying to shut off the part of their brain,
like gaslight themselves into thinking that you can't have both.
That's my opinion.
I agree with that.
Because
I think that's a good way to put it.
I am living proof that you can do both.
You are.
And it's not perfect. And I curse and I yell and I slack in a lot of areas, but my husband and I are a team, and we have badass kids and
angels.
That's it.
That are perfect.
So your life is going to come in seasons, and you know, I'm going to be your hype woman forever, and just tell you to jump off the out of the plane, and do the thing that's scary. There's no hood like motherhood. And I do think if you can, you'll never, ever regret being home with your kids.
I agree with that.
Ever. It's the best. But here's the thing. I work from home. Mm-hmm. And that's truly the dream, is the freedom of working for myself. You and I joking like that we're in our corporate era, but the facts are we make our own schedules, and my son is in the room right behind this camera. So it's like him watching us do what we love, and that's magnetic, and that's energy, and that's why we're here. And so think outside the box. You guys can make it work, but you don't have to pick one or the other. That's what I'll close with. You can have both.
You can have it all.
Have your cake and eat it too. And
we really are have your cake and eat it too, girls. Like,
the whole cake.
The whole cake and more, actually.
Yeah.
Have your seconds as well.
Right. All right, guys. Well, as per usual, we just are so thankful that you're here. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. If you're on Spotify, YouTube, comments, all of it helps our page and our podcast reach the masses. And we can't wait to talk to you next week.
We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Have your cake and eat it too.